Forget undertones, because they don't exist in science, and start focusing on root colors, as I call them, the colors that your skin, hair, and eyes inherently have. Now you need to know this. Your external appearance can be magnified, amplified, or emphasized through the right type and amount of color energy. Now, the color energy results from the frequency or wavelength, chroma, depth, but also the contrast. But to know how much energy someone needs to look radiant, I have to analyze their exact color type in a scientific process. Now, and since I'm not relying on my eyes alone, but use a scientific measurement and calculation process, I can avoid mistakes that other color analysis systems such as the seasonal color analysis, are still struggling to this day. Before I can show you the 5 perfect makeup looks that I've developed for my client, I have to talk about makeup application, where I see a lot of mistakes being done. And you will find thousands of videos on YouTube with the do's and don'ts that people will show you, that I oftentimes don't approve as well. And the reason for that is because the do's in those videos oftentimes still contain mistakes, because the creator either follows generic beauty standards or the seasonal color analysis, which has a fail rate of over 90%, since it is not based in science, but generic assumptions and art theories. When the goal is radiance, maintaining an authentic and natural look and not superficial and generic beauty, you have to approach makeup from a very different angle. Let's look at blush specifically. And a member inside the Art of Radiance community asked the following question: what part of the face should older women apply blush to? By the way, if you want your question answered in a video like this, feel free to join the Art of Radiance community by just commenting join, and I will send you the link. And here are 2 things that I need you to think about, regardless of your age: your face shape and your polarity profile. Now, your age doesn't determine the placement of the blush. It may determine intensity or even hue, should your skin color shift over the years. And here's what it would mean for my client. First, I'm looking at the face shape. Out of all the face shapes, the closest that she leans towards is a diamond face shape. Typically, a diamond face shape shows prominent cheekbones that are the widest area of the face, while the forehead narrows towards the top and the chin narrows towards the bottom. Now, her cheekbones are not prominent in that sense. This area is still the widest in her face, so this shows, especially because her forehead is beautifully rounded at the top, that she is mixed with an oval face. This has implications for your makeup application. I also speak a lot about polarity profile, because that also heavily influences what type of makeup you can use, how much you can apply, and how to apply it. Now, there are 2 categories, while it being a spectrum: yang and yin, the masculine and the feminine. Now, you could have a heavily yin-leaning polarity profile, but you could also have a yang-leaning polarity profile. And there is also a mix where you have a balance between your yang and yin features. Now, my client shows a balanced leaning yang polarity profile. This means the majority of her features are yang, but she also has yin features. Now, here it will be very important to know which features are really yang and which features are yin and which ones are balanced, because that will influence what type of makeup you should apply and how. Applying it on the highest peaks of her cheekbones, rather in the center, without going too much towards the ear area, while also applying a little bit on the nose. Let's talk about eyeshadow. First, I analyze her eye shape and eye type, and she shows a balanced set of eyes, almond-shaped eyes, which means that she needs to use very specific type of application of eyeshadow. And here's how the application would best work for her eye shape. Starting with silver lining at the front of the eye, blending it with stormy horizon, moving on to driftwood gray, and finally finishing it off with charcoal haze at the outer corner of the eye. That will maintain the balanced look of her eyes without making them too big or over exaggerated. She does not necessarily need to have a perfect palette of all these 4. She could also mix driftwood gray and stormy horizon by using charcoal haze and silver lining to create lighter shades of each. Variation 1 is something I recommend her for every day or occasions where she wants to look a little bit more polished. And variation 2 is something I recommend for events where she needs to look extra put together. Now, by replacing driftwood gray with tundra forest, she emphasizes her eye color even more because it is based in teal. Same application here, creating a gradient all the way from silver lining to charcoal haze and adding driftwood gray at the bottom lash line, but only going to the center of the eye and not all the way to the front. Let's talk about lipstick. When I analyze her lip type or lip shape, I come to the conclusion that she falls into the thin lip category. Even though her lips are balanced in the sense of wideness, which is also very important for lipstick application, and thin lips can have various variations. One is to have balanced upper and lower lip, and the other variation is to have a slimmer upper lip and a larger lower lip. This is typically what thin lips would look like, and they tend to be on the longer side. Here's how I recommend her to apply her lipstick for her specific lip shape. To leave the outer corners untouched and focus the color in the center by tapping the lipstick on the lips, not by sliding the lipstick across the lips, but by tapping them into the lips. And then later tapping the color with the fingers more into the lips to spread them a little bit across the lips, but not touching the corners at all. That will create the effect of fuller lips. And as a client who wishes to receive a video analysis instead of just the PDF analysis, you can ask me 1 or 2 questions that you want me to answer in a video. So my client asked 2 questions that I would like to answer. The first one is, what colors for eyeliner and mascara should she use? For day and for evening, should there be a difference? And here's my answer. I recommend to use charcoal haze for the eyeliner for daytime and for evening events to add a soft black to the outer corners of the upper eyelid. The second question that she asked was, do you recommend to wear bronzer on my forehead, under my cheekbones, on my nose and my chin? And here's my answer. For every day, I don't necessarily recommend a bronzer, but when she wants to look more polished or put together or wants to create a sharper shape for her face, here's the placement that I recommend. And I choose a red color just to show the placement, not the exact bronzer color. So the first placement is on the forehead because she is a mix of a diamond face and an oval face to minimize the length of her forehead. On the nose, she can use a little bit of bronzer on the sides of the nose tip to create a slimmer appearance. And under the cheekbones, she can use bronzer, but a very short line under the cheekbones, not going too much forward. And on the chin, if she wanted to create a sharper line, she can definitely do that at the bottom of her chin. And it is very important for her specific color type that she chooses a color, but also the amount of application that is very, very subtle. You should not even be able to see the bronzer. It should just create a very subtle shadow. Let's have a look at the 5 perfect makeup looks that I've created for my client based on her makeup palette. The first makeup look is for daytime and autumn. I recommend to use matte eyeshadow finish, and for the lipstick finish, in this instance, it can be matte or satin, depending on how much you want your lips to stand out. The second makeup look is for evening autumn. Here I recommend to use a matte or satin eyeshadow finish if she wants her eyes to glow a little bit more. And as you can see, I've also applied a little bit of mascara. And for the lipstick finish, I recommend matte or satin. The next makeup look is for daytime, for spring or summer. Eyeshadow finish should be matte or satin. Now for lipstick finish, I recommend to use satin or even glossy, and that really depends on how much she wants her lips to stand out. The more glossy the finish, the more they will stand out, but also they will look slimmer. So it really depends how well she's able to apply the lipstick color to make them look fuller. Only then I recommend to use some type of gloss. For evening winter, eyeshadow finish should be matte, satin, or even pearl if she wants her eyes to stand out more. And for the lipstick finish, I recommend matte or satin. And the last makeup look is for evening, winter, or summer. And this is the most vibrant look that she can go for, and it's a particularly beautiful look for events. I recommend using matte, satin, or pearl for eyeshadow finish if she wants her eyes to stand out more, and for lipstick finish, I recommend matte, satin, or glossy if she wants her lips to stand out more. As you can see, not every color is right for every season or daytime. And that's because every color relates in a very specific way with very specific features in your face. And it's also influenced by the light of the season in your location. What type of lipstick finish you choose also depends on your innate color type, but also the occasion and the setting. In general, I recommend to emphasize either your eyes or your lips, but not both. And I also recommend considering your entire wardrobe when you are creating your makeup looks, because the makeup is always in a supportive role of your wardrobe, and it should never pull more attention than your wardrobe, and both makeup and wardrobe should never take away the attention from you. If you have any questions about this video, please leave them in the comments, and I recommend watching this video next.